Welcome back to the Strut, your home for passionate Coastal Carolina sports talk, presented by 5403 Productions and proudly part of the College Huddle Network. I'm Chili, alongside my partner TD, and tonight, TD, we kick off season 6. The calendar says August. Around Conway, that means one thing: the countdown is over. The cleats are laced, the whistles are blowing, the pads are popping. Football camp is about to arrive, and hope is undefeated once again. Every fan base across the Sun Belt believes this is their year. But around Coastal, expectations aren't built on wishful thinking. They're built on a program that's proven it can compete with anybody. Camp begins the journey. Position battles are about to unfold, and every snap takes us one step closer to Brooks Stadium on game day. Tonight, we'll break down everything we're watching as the Chanticleers head into camp, discuss the biggest storylines, and because college football should always be a little fun, TD, we're going to unveil our second annual Sun Belt Conference all-name team. Trust us, TD. Some of these names belong in the College Football Hall of Fame even before they take a snap. But before we get started, one important reminder that the opinions shared on the Strut are those of the hosts and guests alone and don't reflect the views of Coastal Carolina University, its administration, athletic department, coaches, student athletes, or staff. We're talking to the fans, and that's exactly what this show is all about. So grab your teal, settle in, and get ready for another season of big opinions, big laughs, and big-time Coastal Carolina conversation. This is the Strut. TD, let's get it started.
Awesome, brother. Hey, excited to come back for year 6 here. Man, I can't believe we're in August and football's right around the corner, man. It's personally, my son just wrapped up baseball mid-July. I was coaching the team. We finished well, but man, it was. I looked up and like it hit me. But I mean, camp's going to start for them in I don't know what a couple days actually. It starts August 4th or 5th, 6th, somewhere in there. They technically will report prior to when official camp starts. You come in, and a lot of those guys are already here. I've seen them, and seen them around, and I know there's some events that have been in the area too. So man, I'm excited. There is a buzz in the area with Coach Beard and what his staff's going to bring to the table. I've actually run into Coach Beard a number of times. I've been able to connect with him, text him as often as without bugging him, and had a chance to talk to Nick Petrino and a few other coaches as they pop into local coffee shops and local eateries and around town. Man, they love it. They love downtown Conway. Man, they love Myrtle. They love the community. Man, it's you can when you talk to them, it is a genuine, legit excitement, passion. I got a text from one of my docs last night who went to an event, right, a special dinner, and he was like, "Dude, that guy's infectious." You were right. I texted him. I said, "Hey, man, when you run into Coach Beard, like, dude is infectious with his energy. Like, no doubt about it. Like, he reminds you of." He's different, but he reminds you of a little Jamie Chadwell, a little David Bennett, and then something new and something unique and different. And so it's going to be really neat to see how his personality around town and in the locker room changes things. But we got a lot to talk about, man. We got, like you said, all name team. We've got. We're not going to go to preseason accolades. You've already seen a lot of that on social media between the university and elsewhere. And breakdowns of that, but we are going to get into the all-name team, which is you got to set the table with the all-name team. Then we're going to talk about
we got some good ones too.
We do have some good ones. Some
we got some good ones.
Off-campus expectations and on-campus expectations. The mindset of being in the locker room, going through camp. And again, I always do this every year. It's a little different than when I played. And then from there, we're going to do a high-level breakdown of the schedule and some win probabilities, and then ultimately what we think could materialize as the upcoming some of the starters and positions that we need to really monitor during camp. And I'm gonna get over there with Maddox as often as I can to go watch those guys practice.
So, TD, at this time of year, you're getting ready to go into camp as a football player. Having been there before, can you kind of describe for us what it's like going into camp, kind of just where your mind is going into it? Well, let me ask you this question. Before you go into camp, let me rephrase that. Before you go into camp, are you kind of questioning maybe your conditioning before you get in camp? Are you prepared? Are you scared you're going to puke the first couple of days? Talk about that for a little bit.
Oh man, back in the day, right? Back in the day, you better have your conditioning right because the first week they were going to test you to see if you're doing it. And they knew the guys that were there. I mean, when I played, we had a really solid 85% or more of our guys were on campus during the summertime, which is excellent. That's really good, man. What you don't want to say you're questioning anything. You're excited. It's a little different. When I played, it was still the classic 3-a-days where you could go for a 2 hour practice in the morning, an hour in the middle of the day, and 2 hours at the end of the day. You did that really for almost the better part of 2 weeks. Now it's different. They have it, they have the new system where it's a 2-1-2 system or a practice every day with maybe some light. Well, I say light, but conditioning and working out. It just camp's a little different now, man. They almost have more of a NFL style camp where they would rather go out and have a 2 to 2.5 hour crisp, hard practice and save the guys' minds and hearts and legs, if you will, Chili, to where you go back to film study, not only on yourself, but upcoming opponents, right? Like, don't think for 1 second that they're not already game planning and have been and start looking at film for West Virginia and Fordham and Liberty, right? And those September games. You start looking at that, not necessarily day one or day two, but you're going to start looking at that about halfway through camp. You're going to get little clips here and there, right? But for camp, it's a mindset. It used to be where, without social media and really a lot of cell phones, man, you kind of felt like you were about to go kind of into a dark hole for 2 weeks. Now it's a lot different, man. Now you can stay off campus. You don't have to maybe travel somewhere off site. It's a little different. They give a lot more freedom. And what they've come to find out is you got to be there and work hard, man. You got to be at the facility 5:36 a.m. But at the same time, you're going to be there till probably 10 o'clock at night. But there's more mental piece to this as much there is physical. There used to be a lot of physicality to it, but now it's more mental. It's probably more mental than physicality now than it ever has been over the last several years. And they also
That's
found out during COVID, brother, you can get
yeah.
some things done without having to be constantly banging the bodies out there at camp.
That's what I wanted to ask you because I know the physicality years ago it was all about get in shape, learn your form tackling, all that kind of stuff, all that good thing that I'm talking about. But it does appear that lately, especially with the transfer portal and all the kids that you get in, the idea is to get them in, get them educated as fast as possible. Because I think I heard a coach say this once that the fastest feet on the field or on the court, for my matter, was the most confident feet. So you want to know what you're doing and how to
Yeah.
move about the field and through the schemes and all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to ask you now, what do you see based on what you know about your history in football and what you've seen going to practices and stuff? How has that mental part of the game changed since you last played?
Everybody wants to say, oh, we were tougher back then than we are now. Fair. I think there's degrees of toughness, and I think there's what I would consider the evolution of toughness too, right? I think there's an evolution of toughness. All these kids are weak nowadays. Well, I'll tell you what you didn't have to deal with. You didn't have to deal with the social media mental health piece of this thing. And before everybody hears that and they start going sideways about TDs, it's a thing now, man. It's been a thing. Mental health piece for these young athletes, that social media piece can be an absolute mechanism, an engine of NIL and opportunity, you name it. It could also be an absolute detriment to a ball player, right? They start buying into what people are saying. And unlike before, where it was a newspaper clipping or, the local media covering something, dude, this is 24/7, right? They can go to bed and wake up and, everybody's dogging them about why they should or shouldn't be the starter. why they're getting too many more reps, right? And so, one, the work's done. To quote Coach Bennett, the hay's in the barn before you get to camp. If you're not conditioned, that's on you, man. And what happens is you get guys that will have to condition and they're missing practice. They're missing valuable reps to condition. And if you're doing that, man, you're already behind, right? So you've got the new roster limitations and scholarship enhancements, right? So that's one thing to consider. Two, Coach Beard's going to run camp a little different than what Coach Beck ran it and what other coaches have run it, right? So he's going to run camp. He's got a point to prove, right? He's got a point to prove. We're going to talk about where, they're thinking he's going to finish fourth in the East and somewhere sixth or seventh overall in the conference. That's going to be some bulletin board material, right? He's very familiar with 2 or 3 or 4 of these opponents that we're going to play this year and the upcoming year. So I know we're going to get into that later. But back to camp. Camp is a mentality. It is a grind. It's a different grind. This is where you're going with the question. It's more of a mental grind, not from the sheer 3 practices a day for 2 weeks, right? Now it's a mental grind of when you're out there for 90 minutes to 2.5 hours, you're on point with a purpose, right? You're still lifting weights, you're still doing some other conditioning, you're doing film, you're doing rehab, you're doing things like that. But it's a different mental grind. And that mental grind is how sharp mentally. Remember, Grayson McCall, the story about Grayson McCall, where when he had COVID, right, he spent 25 days in a film room and had to basically condition and work out on his own because of contact tracing. Look how he played. Did you think that he was physically behind anybody? No, but he was definitely mentally ahead of most redshirt freshmen. And so that's something, too, that especially with this year, this team, I think the mental reps and the depth of those mental reps, Chili, before they get to the field are going to be as impactful as they ever have been for this program, right? Nick Petrino's offense looks simplistic, but it's fairly moderate complex. But once you get it, it comes to you naturally, to your point, right? Confident feet or fast feet. Defensively, we're going to run a 4-3, right? But we're going to run a 4-2-5 at times as well. And with that, you got to implement that. It never fails. The defense will always be ahead of the offense through the first half of camp. And then the offense will balance out. There'll be some ebb and flow. And then the offense will start to figure some things out against the defense. And that's where you get real competitive. You get real chippy. You may get a few dust ups, right? Get a few feathers ruffled, especially if you get a good 4 hot days in a row and everybody's banging against each other like that. All of a sudden you get maybe an elbow to the rib and you're like, hey, man, what's going on? All of a sudden it turns into something else. It gets real fun, but it's a mental grind that's different than it was a decade ago, 25 years ago. It's a physical grind that should already have happened. They've also learned you don't have to go banging through camp. That doesn't make you that much better during the season. Again, we learned this because of COVID. It reminded us that you don't have to go bang your body 24/7 for 2.5 weeks, right? You could do all that before you get to camp. And also too, once you get in season, it's about maintenance and recovery. So you don't lose, right? Your gains happen in winter workouts, winter conditioning, spring ball, spring workout, spring conditioning, summer workout, summer conditioning. Once you get to season, it's time to unwrap that present and go have fun with it.
So, TD, question for you about that when it came to the conditioning part of it. I always had imagined, just hear me out on this example, hypothetical, if you will. Um, you've got a 2.5 hour practice where you're doing the X's and O's, you're doing your team individual time, skeleton workouts, all that kind of stuff. The guys who are not in shape, let's just say there's some random player who didn't pass the physical test, didn't show up in shape, looks terrible. That guy is missing reps because he's conditioning, so he's not getting the mental reps and the steps on what he's supposed to be working on. So coaches are pretty much just taking him aside and working him out to get him back in shape. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, it's and something I saw with Coach Beard's spring practices, man. If a kid was late, if he wasn't prepared, they were doing plate pushes. good old fashioned 45-pound plate pushes on the side. And they were doing them the full length of the field. And so, from a mental physical perspective, you got guys that may not be there. That might be some things they have to do. They may have to get some additional workouts. Now, also, too, you've got a limitation. Unlike it was there, but let's be honest, it wasn't as monitored like it used to be. And social media wasn't as big. So, which accountability is a good thing. But, Indiana and Alabama got it right. You know the programs that they have. When Nick Saban was at Alabama, he would talk about, what are you doing before the practice as far as, are you coaching the guys up on drills, about drills we're going to be doing in that day, right? There's that famous, well, if you haven't seen it, it's pretty famous, where they recorded the meeting where he talks about, they wasted time in camp that day on drills and sessions that the coaches had not done pre-session coaching on. Like, hey, we're going to do a drill today. This is how we need it done. I'm going to walk you through it. We're actually going to shadow it, mirror it, if you will, before we get out there in our meeting room. We're going to have a little space. We're going to go in the hallway, something. And so all for that is, if the guys are behind, they got mental reps. Also, too, guys are doing individual things, group things. Like, just because the team practice server doesn't mean you can't go out and go get 100 balls in the jugs machine. Either punt returns, kickoff returns, receiver drills, DBs, right? Fumble drills. I mean, tackling drills. Also, the rolling donuts, that getting out there, doing form tackling. A lot of these guys, man, they don't go full gear, but like once a week now during the season. So during camp, they'll go full gear more then, so they can get live action. But they're mainly in helmets and shells, right? And they'll wear the padded girdles. But a lot of that is to keep the weight off of them, right? Keep them fresh as possible. They'll bring guys back in the fold. If somebody gets injured, somebody gets behind, that's on. They get a recovery plan, right? But that's the challenge. You get hurt in camp. Hopefully, we don't get hit by an injury bug this year. Hopefully, we don't see some of what we saw last year through the season, where it's inevitable, right? It's a game of attrition.
But we've already seen some NFL players going through camp right now who we've lost for the season due to an ACL or some other kind of injury, which ACL is a popular injury right now in the NFL. So seeing what you're saying about going into camp, that makes total sense. My last question for you when it comes to camp is, you're done with camp. You now go into the regular, working out for the week as far as game weeks and stuff like that go. How do you know when you're done with camp that it was a good camp?
First things first, did you come out of camp healthy as possible? As a coach, did we come out healthy as possible? 2, what was the depth of the offense and defense and special teams playbooks that we were able to implement? Right? So health, implementation depth. 3, speed in which we were executing, right? Those are the 3 things there that come to mind. 4, did guys gel, man? If there was ever an era that you got to gel fast, like, this isn't like a good fine wine that you could sit on the, in the cellar and let it just sit there and ferment and become great over time. This is more like going down to Lowe's and getting Gorilla Glue and sticking it together fast, and you hope it works. I mean, 2 totally different concepts, but you get my point. Like, you've got to stick it together fast, and it's got to gel and stick from the jump, man. So there's things where, people will look at some of that stuff like the water gun fights or the dart fights or balloon. Like, you used to do things like coach would bring out like ice creams and popsicles after a hot practice. He would tell everybody, all of a sudden, a truck pulls up and there's, popsicles and ice cream and coolers and whatnot. Things like that. Go into the water park, go into laser tag, something just to break up and get like DBs on receivers and linebackers on running backs and O-line versus D-line beyond the practice field. Get them where they're engaging with each other to find out more. That's the other thing during camp. You know, when I played, we were big about every day you had to go to somebody and learn something new, first in your position and then on the opposing side, like the DBs. You had to go learn something about. You had to get up and say, "Hey, man, this is Steve Childers. He's a DB from Charleston. You know, his mom and dad there, his sister. He's got a dog. He loves to hunt. You know, you had to do that, and that was something we did the first couple of years with Coach Bennett. And some other programs have a way of going about doing that, but you've got to get to know somebody every day. That also helps bring culture naturally into the element of the locker room.
So, last thing I'll say, and we'll wrap up the camp talk is TD, on a scale of Tim Beck to Ryan Beard, how excited are you about camp starting?
Take it. Tim Beck is on the low end,
That's
and Ryan
true.
Beard's on the
Yes,
high end.
that's it.
Dude, I'm at a Hunter Spivey, which is like 11.27. I'm at a Hunter Spivey. He was my receiver coach.
Is he
I'm
a
at
high energy guy?
Yeah, man, he was a high motor all the time, dude. Like 5:30 in the morning or 11:30 night watching film. He was high energy. So I'm gonna go just a hair above Ryan Beer. I'm gonna go Hunter Spivey 11.25.
Okay, very good.
Yeah,
Maybe
man.
maybe we should introduce that scale. I just thought of it as we were talking. Maybe we should
I
introduce
like
that
it.
scale.
I like it. I like it.
So, TD, speaking of people being in camp, right now we've got a bunch of names that are currently in camp. And
Hmm.
what I did, like I did last year, was we went through and we had a lot of good talk about some of these names last year. What was that? Do you remember the guy's name we had to make up the drink for? I have
Oh
totally blanked on
man.
that dude's name. If you're in the chat, please share it if you remember that. But I don't remember that guy's name. He played for a Western team in the Sun Belt.
Not
What?
lunch. It wasn't lunch. It
It
was
wasn't Lunch Winfield.
Lunch Winfield. Still one of the greatest names ever, man. Still
Yes.
one of the greatest names ever. It's
If it comes to me, I'll share it out. But I just remember talking about it, and our conversation just kind of went from there, and we rode that one all season long. But what I did, TD, I did it by team, and I just did it basically alphabetical order, east and west. And so here's what I got: the Chili second annual Sun Belt name team. We're going to start off, TD, with everyone's favorite team, App State. App State has a defensive back named Sincere Berry, long snapper Hardy Butler, wide receiver Dupa Doopah Dupa Coleman, and here's a guy that's been making a lot of all-name teams throughout the country. Offensive lineman from App State, Big Al Oliver. Now, TD Coastal is not immune. We've got a couple of good ones too. Wide receiver Goldie Lawrence and cornerback King White. As we head over to Statesboro, that's right, TD. Gaso has some people. Gaso is going to share out cornerback Chance Gamble. I think that's a very redundant name. And offensive lineman, this might be the best first name in the group, TD. King Triton Samuela.
That's a great
The
name.
dude's first name is King Triton.
Wait, his first name is King, middle name Triton, or his first name is King?
No,
Triton?
his first name is King Triton. Now we got a guy making it for the second year from James Madison. Wide receiver Michael Scott. He's back at the office.
He's back at. Oh, that's a great name. Not like a crazy fun name, but that's a good name. It's a good name.
Yeah, I like these celebrity names. We got from ODU 2 offensive linemen. Offensive lineman Mason Thrush and offensive lineman Bubba Craig. Going to the west, Arkansas State. I'm going to mess this first name up, but it is the all-name team, so I'm allowed to maybe mess it up a little bit. But it's either Nana, which I think is what it is Nana Harris. So Nana Harris. That could be somebody's grandma. And wide receiver Chauncey Cobb.
Hey, I've noticed that the Chauncey name is starting to percolate a little more generationally here.
It is. There was a Sir Chauncey for somebody a couple of years ago. Was that Liberty?
There was a Sir Chauncey.
Yeah. Arkansas State also has a safety named 5 Hamilton,
5, as in like 5 fingers?
5 fingers.
Interesting.
But Hamilton's on the 10. That's interesting to me. Defensive end, Sultan Badmus.
Sultan?
Sultan.
I like that. I like that, man. I wonder what his locker room
And
looks
wide
like. Do you think it looks like a throne or something?
Oh, that'd be cool. And maybe he's got like this Sultan from like Aladdin. That's what I was thinking.
He might.
Ark State also has wide receiver Dallas Boozer. As we go to the Ragin' Cajuns of Louisiana, who we'll see this year, defensive lineman Priest Ash.
Dude's name is Priest Ash.
Priest Ash. And all-name first conference returner this year, Louisiana quarterback Lunch Winfield.
Lunch Winfield, greatest
Lunch
name in the conference. Lunch is back. You think he's like gotten older now? Maybe he could be like dinner or supper. Maybe he's graduated.
But if he gets worse, would it make him brunch?
I like brunch, man. My wife likes brunch.
Here's a question:
so
if the mom had twins, if the mom had twins, would they be brunch and lunch?
You could go brunch and lunch. Could.
It's a question.
It's a question.
Louisiana Tech is not immune. It's their first year. They have a kicker named Hunter Fox. I like Hunter Fox. That's a good name.
It's a good name.
South Alabama cornerback Cube Gurley.
Cube Gurley?
Cube, C-U-B-E. Cube Gurley. And then the last one, TD, from Seymour to campus, we've got a defensive lineman. His name, Will Smith.
Not a bad name, man. Hopefully he comes up in a Men in Black suit for us. So
maybe he doesn't slap anybody. In the game, he might be okay.
Ooh. Well, in this game,
we can call him the Fresh Prince.
Yeah,
it'll be his Independence Day.
That's a great list of
that's our all-name team. That's the all-name team. I will be sharing out a graphic like we did last year, and asking for other people to share, because I remember doing that last year, TD, and some people started like, hey, you forgot so-and-so, you forgot so-and-so. Louisiana Monroe and Marshall didn't have anybody make it this year. So if you're listening and watching or whatever, and you come across a name that I left off from one of these other rosters, or if you pick up somebody from Monroe or the Blundering Herd, feel free to share it with us on X. We'll be happy to share that back out too, because TD and I do not want anybody to feel left out when it comes to the second annual all-name team. So we're going to keep track of these guys through the season. But TD, I think last year's MVP on the all-name team was Lunch Winfield. So maybe he can repeat as the all-name MVP. Just hopefully in one game he has a really, really bad game.
Yeah, we'll put it out there and let the fans decide on that one, man.
Yeah, absolutely. TD, last topic for us as we head into the last segment of the show is we're going to have a look at some analytics that you put together. It was really interesting talking about that before we came on the air, as you took some of the data and some of the predictions and what have you, and you put together some information that you're going to share out. Not everything you put out, because we are going to say some stuff for the season. But TD, take a couple of minutes and kind of just share out what you put together and explain what you put together, and let's hear about what you got as far as the analytical stuff that you've got for the upcoming Coastal football season.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. So just going to lay a good foundation here for 2026, Coach Beard's first year here. Preseason conference, the media coaches poll, they had us 4th in the East with 45 points, and actually received 1 first place vote. Appreciate whoever put that in teal. We appreciate that. So overall, 4th in the East and roughly about 7th overall in the conference is what externally the media for the Sun Belt that covers us well is thinking. The other piece of this is they think Troy, JMU, and ODU are the top 3. We discussed that kind of on the very end of last year's podcast, we touched on a few things precursor. Antheon has Coastal at 6th, and good old Phil Steele has us somewhere around 5th overall in the conference. Both are thinking 5.5 wins. I mean, I know you can't have a half win, but they're thinking 5.5 wins in Coach Beard's first year. Obviously, we hope for better than that, but 5.5 in his first year because we just don't know. You got 50 players that we discussed. We got a new 4-3 defense or 4-2-5 defense that they're installing. You've got the 2-back system that Coach Petrino really loves running with a gun quarterback. Gives us some edge options, whether we've got some quick RPO stuff and we're booting out, we're throwing off the edge, we're running screens, right? All of that. That's all going to be there. It's a fairly complex offense, but again, once it's mastered, it could get real fun real quick. There's my first one of the year. So something, familiarity. What familiarity does Coach Beard have in his staff? Well, I ran into Coach Beard and 2 or 3 other members of the staff. Again, as I mentioned earlier, throughout my ventures here around town, whether it's Rustic Rose or Take a Bite or downtown Conway or out and about. And it's something that I'm excited to hear that there's more familiarity here than people realize. Even though we have 50 new players, we also roughly have 50 players that have been here, right? They understand what's going on. And we got a number of those guys that are going to be with us and going to be leaders. And so high level real quick, pull some of this up real quick. So from a scheduling perspective, just looking at the scheduling piece here, let me roll down here. I have my notes. Just from a scheduling perspective, Chili, you got 4 crossover teams, 3 of which we're going to play this year that Coach Beard has familiarity with. One's Marshall, Liberty, Ark State, and La Tech. They were supposed to play La Tech, if you remember, in the bowl game, but it didn't happen, right? Because remember, he had already come here.
Mm-hmm.
So just as a quick refresher for everybody, Coach Beard and Missouri State went to Marshall and had a 21-20 comeback win at Marshall. They also went to Liberty and had a 21-17 upset over Liberty, who at that time was the lead horse in that race. And then Ark State, technically, Beard, he didn't coach against him in that game, but because he'd finalized. Actually, they put Ark State in the bowl game for him. Forgive me. They played La Tech in a prior year, and so he's got some familiarity with those teams, right? He's got some familiarity with those teams, and that's going to bode well, especially Deuce Bailey, right, who is currently probably going to be leading the way, right, in the quarterback room. We got 4 quarterbacks. Deuce Bailey and Trevor Jackson are 2 that are probably going to be mixed early. The challenge for Trevor and the other quarterbacks is going to be how fast can they master the offense. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you can't master the offense, you're no good to us, right? Like you said, confident feet or quick feet. So the quarterback battle is going to be one that I'm going to watch. I mean, that's not something that is some epiphany. That's not some kind of like, wow, TD just brought some big, amazing piece of information to us. The quarterback room is where that's going to lead a charge on who's doing what and how does that look for us. It's something too that I'm looking for some impact players like Tristan Gardner, Trevor Jackson, Dalen Alexander, Clayton Kopic, Mason Barton, DJ Wozlak. Those are some names I'm looking to come out of camp that could really help us out. And so some projected starters I think are going to be Deuce Bailey, redshirt freshman, probably going to start at quarterback. Trevor Jackson, number 2, and everybody else is going to kind of file in there behind it, pending something unforeseen. Again, 2-back system, Dominic Nicely, Javon Edwards. I'm thinking those are probably right now. Again, this is all without going to camp and those guys getting reps. Robbie Washington, Tristan Gardner, Clayton Kopic are probably going to be in the mix for your top 3 or 4 or 5 guys at receiver. Zach Courtney at tight end. He's a senior. The line, we've touched on that. It could be there's 4 or 5 guys in there that are going to be in the mix, man. But Lord willing, we don't have any bad injuries. That's the thing that I'm concerned about is how do we come out of injury? Now, I bring up the familiarity piece to put a bow on it here with we play 3 of those teams this year, right? We play Liberty, we play Marshall, and we play Ark State. Now, here's the thing. He didn't coach against Ark State in that game. However, they were prepping for Ark State. His staff was prepping for Ark State, and the staff coached against Ark State. Remember that? Nick Petrino was the head coach. He was the interim head coach in that game. So I put together a week-by-week win probability breakdown, and it's going to be interesting. I'm going to just go high level here quick. But West Virginia opening on September 5th. Maddox's birthday, by the way, turning 12. Turning 12, and we're playing a Big 12 team. How about that?
That's perfect.
Hey, and we have a 12% win probability, right? But again, I had to compare Coach Beard's staff, our current roster, versus the current staff and roster at West Virginia and all the remaining teams. Fordham, 88%. Delaware on the road, 52%. Liberty at home, 41%. Georgia Southern, 55%. Marshall, 38%. App, 33%. Bye week on the 24th. We're away at Georgia State on Halloween night, which is fantastic because that's a great night to go downtown. I couldn't think of a better game to be away on is that game because I'm going to be watching them, but I'm going to be watching my kids trick or treat too. With love Coastal, love my family more. Old Dominion at home, 47%. Ark State, here's another one, 58%. Louisiana, 29%. And then at JMU. We finished the year at Louisiana and at JMU, 29 and 18% win probabilities. Now, those are all going to change, obviously, if we play better, play well, stay healthy. I'm curious to track these. I'm going to save them. I'm curious to track these week to week and what that looks like. Again, you don't know until you show up, you lace them up, and go out there and do it. You go out there and really
TD, I
start
was
popping
noticing
pads.
something while you were doing that. There was a trend in the Missouri State season this past year. Deuce Bailey, you say he's a redshirt freshman, not a lot of playing time this past year or previous year. Sorry, for Missouri State, that was mostly Clark was a starting quarterback there.
Correct.
But I'm wondering if part of what they're looking for is a mobile quarterback who can make plays with their feet, which is, that's the trend nowadays. But I was noticing in a lot of those games, especially the ones that Coach Beard and staff will see this year, as far as the common opponents between Missouri State last year and Coastal this year, a lot of those games, the quarterback was the number 2 rusher in nearly every single game against the common opponents, the Marshall, Liberty, and what I was noticing was that it seems like I guess maybe we're looking for another guy like that, because that would speak to a system where Beard being a defensive guy, you need a quarterback to continue drives so the defense can get a rest, get back out there, get the 3 and out that you need. And I also noticed something else going into the season that I don't know if this is a factor in what people are using as far as analytics go for this season, but Beard being a defensive guy, you touched earlier on the preseason accolades that all these players got. We've got we got Jamarian Wayne, and he's a defensive back, linebacker Trey Brown, and then cornerback Miles Woods. All were honored by the Sun Belt for their first and second team all conference teams. And now we've got a defensive guy coming in. So I'm wondering in that quarterback room and how this factors into what you were just saying, like, is it going to be a sustained drive kind of thing and we win lower scoring games this year? I'm curious about that because your analytics made me think about what we talked about a while back, complementary football. Will that defense and that offense styles mesh together? You would think as a head coach you'd have that style put together, but I'm just wondering about that because I feel like we're stronger in some of those games that the analytics has given us right now. That's just my personal opinion on that. I just,
Yeah,
for
no, hey,
what
look,
that's worth.
no, it's definitely worth something. I'll say this quickly on Deuce Bailey. He's a redshirt freshman, right? So he had all that time last year,
Correct,
to absorb. Think of McCall, right? Had time to get in there. I'm not calling him a McCall. Please, everybody hear that. I'm not calling him a McCall. But it in a day and age where everybody wants to play now, having the ability to sit in that film room, see the game speed, also get bigger, faster, stronger for a year. I mean, those things matter. the biggest thing that he's got to do is if he is the guy, there's 3 other guys in that locker room. There's 3 other dudes in that locker room. I'll be fair with you. This is probably the strongest quarterback locker room we've had top to bottom in a long time. I know some people are going to hear that and go, wait a minute. Well, even when McCall played, we had some dudes we loved, still love today, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if they had the athletic and talent ability that the 4 that are in that room today have, right? To your question, I don't know what it's going to look like because none of us do. Again, we know what kind of offense and defense that we're going to have as far as structurally, but you may get into it and you get a kid like Collier, all of a sudden you get that, you get a kid like that you recruit him here for one thing and he does something else, right? For the betterment of the team and the betterment of your ability to go be productive on offense. So that being offered, the quarterback room is something that I'm going to look at. The next one after that is going to be the D-line. Quarterback room and D-line. Why those two? One, we could have a very quality group of athletes around the quarterbacks, but if we cannot efficiently run the offense, can't do it. We have to be consistent. And just frankly, outside of Collier last year, we just weren't we either were dynamic and not consistent, or we were consistently not dynamic, right? And that was where it was. The other piece of this is D-line. Can we absolutely go be disruptive for 4 quarters in every game? Because if you can go be disruptive with your front 4, front 7, man, it really creates some fun things. If you look back in the heyday of 2020, 21, 22, the D-line and our front 7 really were able to put a lot of pressure on the quarterback and the running back. And it forced offenses to get narrow with their game plan, which therefore, as an offensive game plan narrows, it broadens the defense's ability to go be exotic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something to look for. I look forward to going to watch them practice. They fire up later this week. Try to get Maddox out there to go watch some practices. Talk to Coach Beard about that. One thing I'll say this, for all alumni listening to this, if you are an alumni football player, he absolutely welcomes you back, man. 100%.
That's
100%.
Good.
Like, he wants you at practice. He wants you out there. Like, to go watch and introduce yourself, at the appropriate time, obviously, but go out there and be a part of practice. Like, go watch it, and hey, walk up and tell the guys, hey man, we're in your corner. We're old heads, and he wants it. He told me this, like, dude, tell every guy on the pod that is a former player, we need you out there. Come by, man. So, interesting enough, Coach Bennett, I think, is working with Coach Beard and the team for that Thursday night game versus Liberty. We're having a 20-year reunion from the 2016 that won 3 conference titles and beat Liberty 3 out of 4 years. And so we're having a reunion that night. The golf tournament is going to be on that Friday and some other festivities, I think, that weekend. It's in the early stages, but Coach Beard and Coach Bennett are collaborating with that with their points of contact. So it's exciting, man. That's the type of thing Coach Beard wants. He wants a space where former players can come back and be a part of this experience. And so, kind of rounding that out to as we lead to camp, I look forward to next Sunday, getting some early kind of camp information out there to everybody. Also, too, we do have soft commitments from Chance, Mike Uva, and Coach Beard to come on the pod leading up to when we get, I think we got a West Virginia pod group, and also Dr. Benson. We're working on. He gave us a soft commitment. We just may have to piece it together. We have to interview him one night and then do our pod live the next night or something like that. But we have soft commitments from those folks to come on the pod. So we're excited.
So that's a good thing to say, coming soon, because we do have, like you said, TD, Chance, Mike Uva, Coach Beard. We're working on, I'm really working this angle, is trying to get both President Weinbrake and President Benson all on the same podcast. Man, that would be ideal. Have a president off. We can see who gives the best orders, TD. We could give them scenarios. It'd be great.
Oh, man.
I think that'd be fun.
No, we can give them plays like, hey, man, would you run or pass here? That's what we need to do. Give them a situation. Give him a situation. So,
well, we would be remiss, TD, before we got off if we didn't mention Savannah Sweet Tea Company. Low country born, low country made. Sweet peach, unsweetened tea available now, brewed hot with pure cane sugar, just like Mama made it. Visit savsweetteaco.com and use the code SHOTSUP for 10% off your order. Did you know the Strut is brought to you by Dan Sign Realtor with Dunes Realty Sales in Garden City Beach? He's a proud CCU alum, class of 2001. Whether buying, selling, or investing along the Grand Strand, Dan combines local knowledge with proven results to help make your best move. From oceanfront condos to family homes, he's your go-to resource for Myrtle Beach real estate. Visit dansignrealtor.com, or call 843-455-6319. Dan Sign, say it with me. Real estate done right, helping you find your place at the beach. I'm going to need this next guy to reach back out to me on social media. Hanley's Pub, CCU class of 2002. He was 1 year behind Dan Sign, TD. It's the official pub of the Strut podcast and is located in Carolina Forest. We will CC you at your local pub. Hanley is in Carolina Forest, 3873 Renee Drive, Myrtle Beach, 843-903-4904. And last but not least, LT Grace Electric, a locally owned electric service license in both South and North Carolina. They have provided residential and commercial electric needs for more than 38 years, 21 in the Palmetto State. They are the official electric company of the Strut podcast and huge CCU supporters. Call LT Grace Electric today at 843-504-6066. TD, have you signed up for CCU Brew yet?
I know I probably should.
What CCU Brew is?
Tell them about it. Tell them about it, Chili. What's CCU Brew?
CCU Brew or CC Brew. I've seen both names, but it's an email you get, and it just shares out some important information related to Coastal Carolina athletics, coming events, dates you can put on your calendar, all that kind of stuff. And we, I honestly, when I signed up for it, it gave me a "you're now in" kind of email, but then the next email I got had all these things coming up. It's got news articles. If you not subscribe to CCU Brew, but if you also visit goccusports.com and listen to the Strut, you won't miss a thing related to Coastal. I promise you that. Did I see, TD, yesterday that your dad had a birthday?
I did. My dad turned 79 yesterday. I appreciate that. So Pop's doing his best he can right now. And but good thoughts and prayers for him are always welcomed. He's doing the best he can.
Yeah, he's always in our thoughts and prayers. Two things from the live chat, and then I'm gonna hit one more thing, and we'll get a shots up. Is we got a guy who's a Missouri State fan that's following us on YouTube, and he wanted to know, are we going to have any players on the pod? We are going to do our best to get Coastal players and all that kind of stuff on the pod. We absolutely are.
So we're going to work with the university to make that happen too.
Yeah. And he wanted to point out, TD, that Missouri State lost their bowl game last year because they had a lot of injured starters. You take Coach Beard out of the equation, and it was 100%. Still a close ball game. So something to point out there to everybody show for some complete context. One last plug, and then we'll wrap it up.
Born to be
is don't forget to visit the fan forum site. A lot of good conversation happening. And TD, the first fan forum show happened this past Thursday, YouTube only, and it is already over 400 views since we did it on Thursday. People want to hear fans talk, and we had a great time. We talked to a former mascot, Tim Snyder, and my brother joined us, who has been around since the first game ever. And I want to get, I said this a while ago when I was doing the ads. I'm reaching out to Andrew Hanley. I want to get him on this Thursday. He has yet to reach back out in my DMs. I've got one other person lined up, but TD, week 3 of the fan show is all about Coastal sports trivia.
Nice. I'm going to have to jump on that one. Hey, the old boy from Missouri State, born to be SPL. I don't know what the abbreviation is.
Yeah, I
for
see
that.
it. Yeah.
Born to be special.
Yeah.
We'll go with that. He says they're a Sean fan now. And to your point, we've been there before when Chad Staggs had to take over for Jamie Chadwell.
Yes.
Had, the staff was disjointed. We had players hurt or, sitting out, things like that. So we've been there, man. We get it. We understand. But, hey, we'll take all the Sean fans we can. And look, for what this is worth, we understand what it feels like to have a high-quality coach go to your rival twice. And so we'll get into that last one later on during baseball season, which, by the way, we play them at the very end of the season on a Wednesday night. And I have a good hunch that's going to be a fantastically spirited evening, very energetic evening.
I feel like it will be, yes.
I don't know how the energy is going to look, but it will be very energetic.
So that'll do it for this episode of The Strut, the first of season 6. Thanks for spending part of your week with us. As always, we appreciate every one of you who listens, watches, comments, shares the show, and helps us grow this incredible Coastal Carolina community. Your passion is what keeps our podcast rolling. Once again, thanks to our sponsors, Hanley's Pub, Dan Sign Realty, LT Grace Electric, and the Savannah Sweet Tea Company for believing in what we do and helping make the Strut possible. We'll be back next week with more Coastal Carolina football talk, more Sunbelt storylines, and everything happening around Chanticleer athletics. Until then, TD, try to enjoy camp. Let's support the student athletes. Be loud, be proud. Keep representing Coastal the right way. For TD, I'm Chili. We'll see you next time. Shant's up.
Shant's up.